So over the past few videos, you might have seen me using this little wood bench right here in front of me that I recently built. But there's one thing I didn't tell you guys. I actually built two. So let's talk a little bit about efficient woodworking. So if we haven't met yet, I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. And well, I'm obviously, if you've watched the show a few times before, you know I'm still pretty new to woodworking. But I am reasonably proficient in developing efficient workflows. And a lot of the things I've learned from making things like tabletop games, complex pieces of software and whatnot can actually apply to woodworking. So when I went ahead and started building some workbenches for my new house, I figured it's a good idea to build two of them, take what I learned from my 3D printer table, which is behind the camera, you guys can't see, and actually make things go a lot faster. Now, one big caveat I want to talk about here with woodworking in terms of efficiency is that it's not about reducing the time of, say, any one given tool operation. So don't go into the mindset of, hey, maybe I can make this miter saw cut 5 seconds faster, because that is how you lose hands. So you got to think of a different picture than that kind of stuff, because you don't want to compromise safety. So this is really about more big picture things in terms of altering your design a little bit, maybe using a different tool that's more efficient, maybe adopting a different jig or something like that that can speed up the process. But it's not about taking something you're already familiar with how to do in terms of using a tool and doing it faster. All right, so with the safety lecture out of the way, I think that's all we got this time around for safety lectures. Let's start going over some of the build and how I basically approach this whole process of building two of these tables in less time than one. I think it was less time. Probably not. I'm pretty sure I'm making that crap up. Let's just start the darn show. Well, the tabletop is drying. Let's cut the 2x4s that are going to be used to make the outsides of the legs. And I'm going to lay them down on the ground. I'm going to sort them out kind of in terms of where they're going to sit on the final table. And then I'm going to mark them up just very roughly as to where I need to cut the grooves for the pieces that connect them together. So I built the tabletops first because I need them complete to finalize some of the measurements of the project itself. So let me measure across the width of the tabletop, and it's 22.5 inches. 19.5 inches. Now we need to do the same thing for the long edge of the tabletop, but this is a little bit more complex math. But we start here with 48.25, roughly. We'll do 48.25, yeah, 48.25 will work. So each of these pieces here is 20 3/8. Let's get cutting some more 2x. So I dropped the pencil, I didn't catch it, and I said the wrong type of wood. I'm doing awesome. Let's cut some more 1x4s. So let's start with the obvious thing, which of course there's a certain amount of time to set up a given cut on a tool like a miter saw, because I love my miter saw, of course. So if you can set up the cut and then basically do everything you need to do for that particular cut at once, you're going to save a lot of time instead of doing several cuts, then doing a different type of cut, and then going back, setting up, and whatnot. So that's one advantage of building two of these workbenches at the same time, is because you can obviously measure once, set it up with a miter saw, and cut twice as many pieces as you would because I'm building two of them. So if I were to do that, it saves a little bit of time versus saying doing this table's cuts in the miter saw for one step, then this table again for a different step, and then going back to that table. Another thing to keep you from making stupid mistakes was to mark pieces of wood. You can see here I've got several sets of 1x4s going on. Some of these are the cross braces that go, like I said, across to hold the legs together as well as support the table, and then some are going on the side. The ones that go on the side were just a tiny bit longer than the cross braces, so much so that you probably really couldn't tell if they're all piled together. So I was very meticulous to make sure that I marked all the side pieces with a red construction pencil with a nice big scribble, because I don't care if they look like crap. That way, by doing that, I knew which pile is which, and I'm not going to screw things up, because a great way to waste time is to screw things up like that, where you realize you got something assembled and then it's all the wrong pieces. Also helps to think about your design, and can you save time by altering your design? Now, with my 3D printer table, I had some pretty intense joinery going on where I took my cordless router and I cut these massive grooves / dados. They're the same size, I don't know what you would call them. And I used that to join the pieces together in terms of the cross braces that kind of support the table. That took a lot of time. The router is not the right tool for that, but I don't have anything better necessarily. So what I ended up doing is reducing the size of that, still using a different 3D printed template. And you can see here, if you look close on these particular joints, it's the same kind of concept, but they're a lot smaller than what I had in the 3D printed table, and therefore I can move through them a lot faster, and I still got the proper gluing and screws in there to hold the joints together. I mean, a little rough, but it does a trick, right? So right what we got here is one of the two sides of the completed workbench. Now, this is the inside facing of the particular side. So there's going to be cross beams that kind of go across like this and connect the two sides of the workbench together. Now, in woodworking terminology, a dado, if I understand things correctly, is a cut across the grain of the wood. So basically be a cut like this across this 2x4 here that would allow me to insert this board in and get a better joint. Now I'll be honest with you, I've been doing these kind of cuts and grooves and things like that using the router with a 3D printed template, and that's kind of loosey-goosey. It's close, but if you really want a good solid joint, right now it's not good enough. So a better and probably faster option is called a fake dado. Now a fake dado is where you use multiple pieces of wood. In this case, this piece is going to go here, let's say. There's going to be a piece below it and a piece above it that are sandwiched in a way they effectively mimic a dado cut. So with that, let's cut those pieces. So down here in the bottom, I need like a 7 1/4 inch piece, and then do the math to figure out what goes up here. But keep in mind, there's also a cross beam up here, so leave 3/4 inch off the top of that piece. And what that means most importantly is more fun with a miter saw. All right, 23 minus 3/4, 22 1/4. Pretty easy math. All right, let's make sure we didn't go too far off the rails with our table. And if that's good, let's go to town with a whole bunch of glue. So my board glue up skills, they still kind of suck. So the way I'm going to fix that is use my oscillating multi-tool to just get the joint really nice and smooth, and then I'll go over the entire table with my random oscillating sander. So we're getting close to being done, but this is where the one point in the build the designs kind of diverge. As you can see, this bench, which is finished, is a few inches taller than this one over here that I've been working on in this video. Now, originally the plan for both of these was to put casters on the bottom. I got some big heavy-duty caster wheels right here. But what I decided to do for this bench, which is going to be the main workbench, I ended up just raising it up a few inches on wood blocks. And the reason why this one here is not going to have any wheels on it is because every now and then when you're building a project, you just got to beat the crap out of something. Whether it's because you got a stubborn joint in woodworking or snow fire just put a nasty dent in your robot's frame. You know, things like that can require a lot of brute force to fix. And having a nice solid, I guess, sitting on the ground is a great way to be able to basically hammer on something and not worry about, say, damaging caster wheels, stuff like that. Now the second bench I'm building over here, this is going to be the basis for my power tools. You might be able to see some of them sitting in the corner over there. I've got a bandsaw and a drill press I want to set up, and when I get that set up I can finish micro flash. So the idea here is to put those power tools on this bench and be able to move that around a little bit on casters. So let's get these wheels on this bench over here. So here I am, just about at the end of this build, and it occurred to me something all about efficiency. I've been doing one thing right. I've had my drill separate from the impact driver. What I have been doing is going between using the drill bit for drilling out the hole for the screw, and then taking this out and putting in my countersink bit, when this whole time, I completely forgot I have a second cordless drill. So, for the last 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 holes, drill, countersink, then drive the screw in. Hey, I like that. Put there for right now. One last thing to do, that's to get some power tools set up. Desiccant. 3D printing guys love this. Oh, this is actually in the instructions. I'm dead serious. The instructions mention a second set screw up here. I see a spot for a second set screw, but I don't see a second set screw. Found it in the bag. Before I continue, I do know these boxes read Ryobi and not DeWalt. I don't think DeWalt makes a normal drill press or a reasonably cheap bandsaw. I'm about to say reasonably priced, but let's be realistic. This is the cheapest thing you can buy. I'm already looking at better options. I just need something for now until I feel like spending a lot of money on a good bandsaw. Blade's already installed. Careful there. Holy crap, 1 minute left in the SD card. So thank you guys all for watching. Once again, I'm Jason, the creator of the Tabletop Battlefield. Hopefully this is a fun little random woodworking project. I'll do more of these as I get closer to building that tabletop game table that I talked about way back in the first episode, but that's still a little ways away. So hit subscribe for tabletop game stuff, robotics, who knows what else I may be up to, and of course that like button, and you guys are sick of that garbage, aren't you? So am I. So anyway, thanks for watching, and have a great week.